Morning, everybody. Welcome to our first, one moment here, there we go. Welcome to our first Garland Chamber Wellness Wednesday. So the intent of this program is to encourage businesses to take time to work on their overall wellness. And before we begin the program, we'd like to welcome our sponsor, Victoria Tortorelli with Garland Behavioral Hospital. So at this time, Victoria will begin to share her presentation with the rest of us. Victoria? I believe we're still admitting a few folks in, so just bear with us. Good morning, Victoria. You may now begin your presentation.
I'm still on mute.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Victoria Tortorelli. I am the Director of Business Development for Garland Behavioral Hospital, and we are very excited to be sponsor of this webinar for Wellness Wednesday in collaboration with the Garland Chamber. Garland Behavioral Hospital has been in the Garland community for 5 years. We are located in the building most of you know as the Baylor Medical Center, but recently became the Veterans Administration Medical Center of Garland. We are here, we are open, we are available to you. So we want to just make sure you know a little bit about Garland Behavioral Hospital and our services. We are behavioral health. That means we offer psychiatric behavioral treatment to adults 18 and up. And we also have specialized services for geriatric older adults. When I talk about behavioral health services, what that means is we're here to help anyone who's having a crisis. Maybe it's depression, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's substance use, maybe it's thoughts of harming oneself, suicidal ideation. We want you to know that we're here in the community to help everyone when they have a loved one, a family member, a friend, even a colleague that might be suffering from those struggles, that we're here to help. It's important that you know we're open 24/7. People can walk into our building. We are here every night. We are here every day, every weekend, every holiday. We're here to help those in need. And it's very important also in this pandemic time that you know we're available for folks to come to us, because when you're genuinely in a mental health crisis and you're not suffering from a medical crisis, oftentimes not in a pandemic, we would say to someone like that, go ahead and go to your nearest emergency room. Well, right now, when you're having a behavioral health crisis, the emergency room is not the ideal place that you want to be when they're possibly screening, treating people who are potentially symptomatic with coronavirus. So we're a safe place for you to come when you're struggling with those mental health type situations. Want to make sure you know that there's no cost for assessments. People come to us, we talk to them and help them determine what their best level of care is. And it may not be us. They may go to another level of care, and we'll make sure we connect them with that so that everybody can be safe. I am so excited to be here with this community this morning. I want to make sure that all of you that are listening to us know that we are here to help you in the business and industry world as well. We'd really love to collaborate and connect with you. Maybe connect us with your human resource departments, connect us with your employee assistance programs. We want to make sure that you know we're here, and that as you look out for each other and folks connected with your business might be struggling, we want to make sure that they get connected to us. Another thing that my team, the business development team, offers is outreach and education. So let us come to your facility. This has been very stressful on everyone. So we want to make sure that you know we can come and we can help your staff maybe learn about increased stress management, anxiety, managing anxiety, We'll even come and do depression awareness so you can look out for each other and know when things are not right and when it's time to ask for help. We can do suicide awareness and prevention presentations. So let us be a partner with you as we all get through this pandemic. So I'm very excited. Thank you for having us here as presenters, and we'll turn it over back to the chamber to get things going.
Thank you so much, Victoria, and thank you to Garland Behavioral Hospital for sponsoring today's event. So the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we've invited Sally Neely, Director of Clinical Services, and Kimberly Bunnell, CEO of Garland Behavioral Hospital, to speak about ways to manage your mental health. A few housekeeping items before we get started. As Kimberly and Sally are presenting, keep in mind that if you have a question, you can answer that using the chat feature, at the bottom of your screen. So if you just hover over the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat icon. Click on that and simply submit your questions there. All questions will be answered at the end of their presentation. So without further ado, it is now my pleasure to introduce Sally Neely and Kimberly Bunnell.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for having us today, especially. I don't know, other than it being May as Mental Health Awareness Month, today's also Nurses Day. I don't know if there's any nurses out there, but hi, and thank you so much for all that you do for your community. So I'm Kimberly Bunnell. I am the Chief Executive Officer for, there I am, Chief Executive Officer for Garland Behavioral Hospital. I have actually been a nurse for over 27 years in the healthcare field for over 30. And I have to tell you that there's been an amazing amount of change in healthcare over that amount of time. And over the years, things are changing so rapidly. I think in the past 6 months, things probably changed more than they have in the previous 30. And that's really the truth with this new, this novel corona thing that's kind of invading all of our lives right now. And so really, I'm going to borrow a quote from John Maxwell. He's a notable motivational speaker. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced any motivational programs that he's done, but he has a little saying that goes, pessimists complain about the wind, and optimists expect the wind to change, but a leader actually adjusts the sails. And so here at Garland Behavioral Hospital, we always expect the winds to change because that's what healthcare does. But we are absolutely adjusting the sails almost on a daily basis sometimes to navigate through this. We're in uncharted waters, all of us, healthcare, the community, businesses. We've not seen anything like this in my lifetime. And this is, it's really, I'm very proud of Garland Behavioral Hospital, of how we have adjusted. And we've been here for 5 years, and we've gone through a lot of ups and downs here. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sally to introduce herself. She's one of our founding members of Garland Behavioral Hospital. She was here when the doors opened.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. Hey, everyone. Good morning. So I'm Sally. So I'm the Director of Clinical Services. So I'm a licensed social worker, and I oversee the programming that happens, the therapy that happens on our inpatient units, but then also our outpatient units. And so we're really honored to get to talk to you about this topic that is really important to us, but especially right now in this challenging time. So to think about how can we manage mental health in a time where everything seems to be kind of turned around and just really challenging, even the most simple things. So, COVID-19 has impacted all of us in probably countless ways, and also in probably ways that we won't even realize until it's all over. And so we want to take this opportunity to give you some tools to manage your own mental health during this time, but also to help you check on and help others around you, because we're all still connected and we all need to be a support to one another. And so we're excited to do that. So please submit any questions. We're happy to answer that at the end. Also, we're going to be emailing you a coronavirus anxiety workbook that you can look at and have. It has some great tools that we're going to be talking about in here during our presentation, but it's a resource for you to give use yourself or to give to somebody you feel like maybe could benefit from that.
So thank you, Sally. We, as Lisa mentioned, this is May is Mental Health Month. The 71st annual one started by the Mental Health America back in 1949. And during this COVID time, during this pandemic, during all of the things that are happening around us that are really out of our control, mental health education and awareness could not be more important than it is during this time. Because I think even people that are experiencing normal everyday stressors, you add the changes and the challenges that come with COVID on top of that, and then we have a recipe for a lot of people being in trouble. So I just, in addition to Mental Health America, which is a wonderful organization, also want to just kind of give a nod to the NAMI Foundation, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. On a personal note, my family, I know Sally's as well, has gone to the NAMI walks here since I moved to Dallas 10 years ago. And the NAMI walk isn't going to happen for North Texas this year because of all the social distancing. And so Saturday, May 3rd, there's a virtual walk. And if you can find it in your hearts to give a donation to NAMI, it's a very worthwhile cause. And I think that would be fantastic. So.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that it's been really highlighted is that, COVID-19 has shown us that we all at times struggle with mental health issues, right? And that we want to utilize this opportunity to help reduce the stigma, because there are a lot of people who struggle with mental health issues on a day-to-day basis that this has only heightened or exacerbated their symptoms. But the truth of the matter is all of us are stressed. All of us can be anxious. All of us can be depressed. And that's okay. It's okay to not be okay, right? And so we want to, always be communicating that message, but we hope you'll continue after this presentation to really communicate that to those that you're around as well. Stress can be a good thing. Obviously, it helps keep us alive, motivate us, keep us safe, help us to keep our jobs, right? But majority of the time when we think about stress, we think about an unhealthy level, right? A level that is really hindering us in a lot of different ways. And so we need to recognize when we're stressed. That's the first step.
And we have to really acknowledge that as Sally said, it's okay to not be okay. We have to allow ourselves that. And I think one of the things that makes this pandemic so different from other kinds of stressors is, there's world stressors, the war, right? But it's far away from us. It's not here. It's not in our backyard. It's not in our face. And it's a stressor, but it's not something that affects us individually. And I think that one of the things about the COVID pandemic that really has been kind of unique is the isolation that it's caused for all of us. We're really lucky, Sally and I, because we get to come to work every day and we still have our socialization that we have at work and with our patients and the work that we do as essential healthcare workers. But we really do recognize that for most of the world, people are really truly isolated. People are at home and there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of things that this pandemic brings up in all of us, a lot of additional stressors in addition to those things. Financial stressors. There's the worry about your own health, your family members' health. Sal and I both have older parents that we're worried about. We want to make sure that we're isolating them, but how do we support them at the same time? People might be experiencing changes in your sleep and eat. When you're not as active, you're not going out, your eating habits and sleeping habits change when you get out of that, what used to be your normal routine. It's really important that we remember that mind and body really work together and that you can really experience some worsening chronic health problems just from additional stress. The mental health conditions that come from the worry and the fear can manifest into some pretty significant anxiety that can really impact your functioning. One of the things that we see during high stress times, especially during this COVID pandemic, is that people sometimes turn to alcohol or drugs. And while the alcohol, drug, whatever that is, might initially feel like it's helping, it actually is causing more damage, both mentally and physically, and just adding to the stress.
Absolutely. And we consider that, things like that are negative coping skills, right? Because they not only do you have your initial problem, but now you have an additional problem. And those problems can really add up and compound really easily. So like we talked about, stress in itself can be very harmful and can, cause a lot of damage, not only to us physically and our relationships, in our mindsets, things like that. And unfortunately, multiple sources are kind of reporting that they expect the suicide rate to go up exponentially. So not only while we're in the midst of, sheltering in place, trying to protect ourselves, isolating to a certain extent to be safe, but also after it's over, when people begin going back to their jobs and things aren't the way, they don't go back to normal, and having to adjust to the new normal. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to feel very hopeless and feel very helpless in that time. And, that touches my heart in a way that, obviously this is what we do. And that's really sad and scary. And I want to be the voice to help anybody who needs help. And honestly, the first step to that is being honest, right? So how many times when you're on a Zoom call or you're connecting with somebody, does somebody ask you, hey, how are you doing? Right? And a lot of times, even now,
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm fine.
Oh yeah, everybody's going through it. My life's not any different than anybody else's, right? So we kind of minimize that or kind of blow that off, right? What if we were really honest? Because the truth of the matter is we all have emotions right now, right? Stress, anxiety, there may be even something more underlying going on, and that's okay. When we have those connections with people, because they are limited, but they're also can be more impactful, right? Because somebody's choosing to connect with you, which can feel really good. And I think all of us, at the end of the day, we want to know that somebody cares about us, and that somebody's going to take the time. But that can be really scary. There's a vulnerability to that our culture, unfortunately, is not always that accepting of, right? So we have to take responsibility ourselves and being honest, like, hey, you know what? This morning was really hard. Yeah, for Kimberly and I, we're still coming to work every day, but some of the things that I would do outside of work to help me be fully present, I can't do anymore, right? Those are different. And so I need to be honest about how I'm doing. The other thing is I need to be really checking in with those people. Yes, like there's a lot of people that I haven't been able to see since this all started, but there's also a lot of people that I've been connected with that I don't necessarily interact with, right? If that's my neighbor who, stands on her in front of her house and, yells at me and checks to make sure that I'm okay, or just coworkers, but also the community that I'm in, right? And so I think that's one of the reasons that we're so excited to talk to y'all as part of our community, because there really is something to be said for just being honest, right? And then that allows us to then also help take care of other people, right? But the first step is we need to take care of ourselves, right? So let's talk about some ways that we can do that, right? So one of the big things that happens is we've lost a lot of the structure, the normalcy of our day, right? So you may have had a routine that you've had for a really long time, but now that's kind of gone out the window. But there's still opportunities to create structure. Every single one of us feels better when we know what to expect and what's coming, right? So you can create some things in your environment that you can control and help kind of focus on that and kind of create a routine to that, right?
We were, when the beginning of the meeting was just getting started, I heard a lot of folks talking about wearing comfortable shoes and
Absolutely.
Comfortable pants, because Zoom is, here up. And I think that becomes your new normal, right? So as much anxiety and stress and worry we have now about the world and the things that are out of our control, there's also, as we start putting the world back together, we start, relaxing some of those restrictions that we've had. We start to come out of isolation, but we've got a whole new normal that we've got to figure out, because the old normal is different than the current normal. The new normal is going to be something that's unknown, which can also cause some anxiety.
Yeah.
So we've got to figure out ways that we can minimize that stress of those unknowns and those things. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also setting priorities, right? Because your priorities may be a little different. You're having to homeschool a kid that you've never had that role before, or you have a new kind of role at home and you're doing different things. One of the big things for us is trying to figure out who's going to be responsible for doing all this Zoom technology stuff. Like, who's going to know that, right?
Right.
So, but we can set those priorities, right? And every single day, our actions and how we spend our time are speaking to our priorities. We need to make sure that you're prioritizing your mental health in that, right? So there are times that I'm like, taking a walk or unplugging isn't that big of a deal. That's one of the ways that I may be connecting with other people. But in the end of the day, setting that as a priority, something that I'm going to do, helps me then to be able to do all the other stuff I need to do, right? So really looking at okay, how are you spending your time? And what are some ways or activities that you can do to help take care of yourself, right? Those things that you enjoy that bring happiness and joy to your heart and help you feel a little bit more relaxed at the end of it, right? So one of the things that we wanted to do is actually, I'm going to do a little therapy exercise with you, right?
Yeah.
So it's called a stress management reduction technique. It's a cognitive behavioral therapy. So we're going to do an A through E, okay? So I hope you're game, and we're going to do it together, okay? So first thing we need to do is we're going to sit back in our chairs a little bit, kind of get relaxed, okay? And I want you to take a big breath in and a big breath out, okay? So this exercise is going to help us kind of connect to some of those thoughts that might be plaguing us, right? Because that's what stress and anxiety really are. It comes to just the thoughts that we're having, okay? So A stands for attention, okay? So when you're feeling stressed or just on a normal day, take the opportunity right now to think about the types of thoughts you've had since you've woken up this morning, okay? So in the couple of hours that you've been up, what would you say is the most predominant thoughts you've had? Are those thoughts positive? Are they encouraging, uplifting? Or are they kind of obsessive, anxious-ridden, filled with concern and worry, right? So now that we've thought about some of the thoughts we've had just today, I want you to think about, should you believe those? B stands for believe. Do you automatically believe everything you think? Okay. Just because you think it doesn't mean that it's true or that you have to believe it, right? So if I was constantly worried about a loved one and if they were going to be safe, if everything was going to be okay, yes, that's rooted in truth, but that's not something I have to obsess about or continue to believe, right? So then that's where challenge comes in, which is C, okay? So we have to broaden our focus and help us see the bigger picture, okay? Is this information fact or opinion? Is it your own opinion or is it somebody else's opinion that you've heard? Also, what would you think if you were calmer? Would you still have the same belief? Would you still have the same thought, right? If the situation was different. If your thoughts would be different at a different time, then that probably means that there's something to that thought that is driven by emotion, okay? So then we're gonna discount, acknowledge that, hey, you know what? I'm feeling anxious. Maybe my thoughts have been a little bit more negative since this morning, right? So discount those and really explore and identify the things you want to think about, right? The things you want to believe. when we accept negative thoughts, those become part of our programming, right? And so we have to take that opportunity to say, hey, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm not going to believe that, right? So that's just a little exercise that I wanted to do with you. I hope you did that and you enjoyed that. Yeah, it took a couple of minutes, but in reality, the more you practice it, the more easy it becomes.
The great thing about this technique, wouldn't you all love to have Sally work with you every day and get this kind of stuff every day? It's wonderful to work with her. But the great thing about the ABCs is that you can do those free. They don't cost anything. It just takes a moment of time to really take an inventory of where you're at and what you're thinking and reset it. And that whole being able to challenge your thought processes is not something that comes naturally to a lot of us. And so it does take some practice. And I think that we'll be emailing this presentation to you in addition to the workbook that Sally talked about.
Steps.
And so you'll have this technique that you can have with you as well. And I do a lot of imagery, but this is very intentional thought process changing, which is really important when you're by yourself and when you're alone with your thoughts. And sometimes your thoughts can make you feel more stressed out than ever. Yeah. And don't forget that mind-body connection. The better your mind is, the better your body will be. It really is important.
Yeah. Well, and every time I have an Apple Watch that tells me to breathe, then I practice that. I use that as a reminder to do these steps. And sometimes when I'm riding the elevator home at work, I do it to help me decompress and organize things in a way that I would want them to be. So, okay, so I think we're actually ready for questions. If anybody had any questions. If not.
Didn't look like there was many questions in
Perfect.
the chat feature.
Okay. Well, I hope that you'll get that anxiety workbook, that you'll just spend, some time looking over it. Maybe it might be helpful to you. Or maybe you've thought about somebody while we've been talking that you would maybe think could benefit from kind of working through that, and help people understand it's okay to not be okay.
Yep. If you don't get anything else, ABCs, and it's okay to not be okay. Come see us on Garland Behavioral Hospital Facebook. Come find us on LinkedIn. You can email any of us directly if you like to. Those are there for you. And just remember, we're here 24/7 if you need us for anything. Even if you just have a question, we have great staff that are willing to help. So thank you.
Thank you. We just actually had a question that came through.
Okay.
The question is, what is the best way to reach out to people that we know are alone, and what are the appropriate things to say?
Great question. So first, I think the key is, and you may not know this, but try to figure out a platform, a resource you think that they would benefit from. Like I have some people that are a little bit older in my life, and so I actually sent them mail, which I don't know that I've done probably ever, but I knew that they could really benefit from that, right? The other piece is really to just check in and say, hey, you know what, I was just thinking about you and I really miss you. Or, hey, I just, was something happened, like some introduction that makes it feel a little bit more natural. And then just be like, hey, you know what, I was really having some anxiety yesterday about this. How are you doing? Even if they don't respond, and share oh yeah, horrible, you've now identified yourself as a safe place for them and as somebody who cares about them. And so they may circle back around with you a while. But the other piece is there's a lot of really fun apps out there that are really entertaining. So you can get involved and get connected to some of those that kind of connect you to everybody.
I think that act of you yourself being vulnerable sometimes to someone gives them permission to do that with you. And that's what Sally's talking about, being a safe person. So if you're willing to be vulnerable with someone else, they're actually more likely to give that back to you.
Can I read a question to you?
Sure, of course.
I had a coworker who said she started crying for no reason. I had no idea what to say or how I should respond.
Well, one, I'm glad that she felt like she could tell you that. That speaks to the level of support you provide to her, right? And there's a lot of times that, one of the big pieces to the ABCs is that helping us to pay attention to what's really going on. But the truth of the matter is a lot of times we don't know ourselves, right? So I would just encourage you to just be supportive and be like, oh man, like, I'm glad you told me that. And maybe we can figure out together what's going on, or what can I do to help you and support you right now? How are you feeling right now?
Sometimes it's just the presence. Your presence is comforting to people. We're in the healthcare field, and so we get that a lot. People that aren't associated with the hospital, our friends and family, they recognize us as a safe person. They might not use that terminology, but they know what we do. It can be off-putting sometimes if you feel at a loss of knowing what to say. Just know that your presence itself is comforting to people. They wouldn't probably break down with you if they didn't feel like that you were a person that was supporting to them. And really, so I wouldn't beat yourself up about not knowing exactly what to say, because even in our field, we sometimes are stumped with, wow. And I think that we all try to put ourselves in another person's position, put ourselves, walk a mile in their shoes and figure it out. Not everybody that comes to you is going to want you to solve their problems. Sometimes they just want you to listen and to be. And you don't have to be a rock star therapist like Sally and know exactly what to say all the time. Just be yourself, because they came to you for a reason.
Absolutely.
Would you like to hear a comment?
Sure.
Yes.
First of all, people are saying great job, ladies. So.
Oh, thank you.
That's so nice.
That's nice.
This is from Conley. He says, we do Facebook video chat with my family every Wednesday, Sunday nights. My daughter and her husband are musicians. They sang, I Want to Hold Your Hand on the call, and we all lost it. Stay close to your family and let them see your faces.
Absolutely. And know that sometimes tears are really healing, right? I have been just so encouraged by all the good news and all the ways that people are supporting and caring for one another during this time. And I hope that out of everything, that continues, right? We never lose that sight that although somebody may not be close to us, that there's still people who care about us, and there's opportunities to help one another. Yeah. But I wish people in my family were musical, but
yeah, we can say that.
Another question is, someone is asking for app suggestions. You said there were a lot of great apps. Could you expand just a little bit on maybe some ideas?
So first of all, I'll admit that I have a lot of friend groups that are maybe a little bit younger. So my favorite apps, so I can speak to that personally, I wanted to do that disclaimer, are Marco Polo. So Marco Polo allows you to do a video. It's like a conversation, but you don't have to wait to make sure the person's available. So it just saves, and then you play it when you're available, and then you respond with a video that's like a stream. So that's really cool, because sometimes I like to FaceTime with people or do a Zoom call, but you have to make sure that both of you are available at the same time. I also like this app called House Party. So House Party is basically like a FaceTime meeting, but there's games in the app that drop down. So you can play Heads Up, Pictionary, all different kinds of stuff. And you can put like 200 people or something in that. I've never had a group with 200 people, but I've played a lot of really fun games. And some people that I thought would never do that are actually, they love it, meaning my parents. They love it. So those are just my top two. And there's some walkie-talkie ones that are also really cool. And the good thing about all those apps is you just open it and you push play, and it's pretty simple.
Yeah, the creativity that's come from us being isolated or distanced has been kind of fun to see. Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah, House Party, I have to give kudos to that one because I really enjoy that app as well. So thank you all very much. This was all so helpful. Again, this was our kickoff to Wellness Wednesday. We'll be hosting another one on May 20th. So if you're interested in joining us, please do. You can visit our website for additional information. And a big thank you to Garland Behavioral Hospital for sponsoring our first Wellness Wednesday today. You all did such a great job and really looking forward to hosting these moving forward. So again, thank you all and have a great afternoon.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.